SnortBucks Kaffee Bier heißt Sie willkommen zum Snortfest. Beginnend bei Das salzige Schwein, Schweinebraterei, und breitete sich auf Dutzende von SnortBucks Salzbierzelten aus. Snortfest sind 3 Wochen trinken, essen und gute altmodische Ausschweifungen. Machen Sie mit. SnortBucks. Willkommen bei Salt.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is DSP News, the unreliable ones, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to, we're in a bit of a under construction type situation, but welcome back either which way. As you know, this DSP News, the Snort Report, is brought to you by SnortBucks Coffee Company, the best beverage company, and Hard Snorts Gin and Tonic, that toxic flavor that never wavers. Sounds good, doesn't it? Anyway, since the gin market has gone up, especially since we're drinking gin on stream for like $100 per tip or whatever, I guess you have to make sure you remember that you have to tip him $100 at once to actually get that, what is it, whale's tail gin or whatever. Anyway, that's the thing. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here with a short video, which is funny because I'm not known for doing anything in a short sort of way. Going over a situation that happened on January 19th of 2023, our current year of Gout. I think it's also the year of the rabbit, I think, which is ironic in a bunch of ways if you know your DSP lore. Anywho, R.I.P. Bunny. Anyway, we're going to go over this small little bit of DSP, yet again, throwing further shade / insult / projection at Review Tech USA. But realistically, I had asked Dig to go ahead and get just a small part of what this larger video is going to be, as it pertains to Wings of Redemption. And I think one of the next reactions of 2023 is we're going to see another Wings of Redemption react. I would assume it'll be to the June the King Wings of Redemption rendition. DSP has, well, I don't want to spoil it for you, but DSP has kind of already hinted at it, or phantom snorts, if you will. So we'll see if that comes about. That's the real reason why I actually wanted this clip. Everything else was kind of a bonus that Diggs thought would be interesting. So we'll see. Either which way, hopefully you guys are all doing well and whatnot. I won't hold you guys any longer on this. Let's just go ahead and get started. And you guys all know what the slogan is. You guys all know what the situation is. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Snort Report. This is DSP News. Always late, never breaking. Unreliable coverage that you can't count on. Oh yes, a GTG network and production. You guys all know the slogan. I don't smell no goddamn bacon cooking yet, but I'm looking to fix that. And so it's time, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to watch me work.
A $10 tip from Gathering Hall Live. He says, I was watching Review Tech. Do I really want to say this? Gathering Hall, okay. First of all, thank you for the $10 tip. All right, Gathering Hall, thank you. And I appreciate your support. And actually, he's going to give some content.
Anywho, big ups to Diggs. This is his rendition of a segment that came from January 19th of 2023. If he decides to go ahead and upload it, and more than likely unlist it, the link will be down in the description. If not, it may show up, it may not. Whatever. You can go to if you really want to find it, you can just go to January 19th pre-stream, I'm pretty sure, or the pre-coat podcast, and you'll find it there. Anywho, like I said, talking about Review Tech USA and a bit of an idea or an insight on a conversation that DSP allegedly had with Wings. Here we go.
And words, but at the same time, he's going to talk about Review Tech. All right? Can I be honest with all of you? By the way, wow, I really love that animation. That's the new $10 animation for tips. We also have a new $10 animation for Super Chats, and it's similar to this. They're both Oblivion animations for the Oblivion playthrough. Dude, that's one of my favorite ones. Look how cool and colorful that is. So, Gathering Whole Life, thank you. However, here's the thing, all right? I've said my piece about Rich, and he's done absolutely nothing to disprove anything I've said, nor has he made an effort to improve. If anything, he's doubled down on being a scumbag.
I mean, the same thing could be said about you. Detractors, trolls, haters, and critics call you out on your shit all the time. And you said it's not true. It didn't happen. These people are mentally ill. They make it up. They take a nugget of truth and expound upon it and make it something more than what it is. So, and you never have a really good rebuttal to anything that anybody has ever said to you, no matter how outrageous or how truthful. So, you know, you and Rich really deserve each other in a lot of ways. Speaking of which, I had discovered, this is for people who've been around for a while, there are a bunch of little videos floating around about Rich and about his history. A lot of this history you guys don't know. A lot of you guys may not even, or you guys may not remember. And we had 3 of them in particular. I am on the hunt for the others, and then I'll have Diggs and the editor deal with the stuff that comes after that. But there are 3 on this channel. 2 are unlisted. The other one was never uploaded. That 3rd one will be uploaded eventually. When it does, the other 2 will go live as well, and then there'll be a playlist for it, and you guys can just check it out at your leisure, or we'll link it down in that description, or whatever the case may be. And you can see some of Rich's early LOLCOW shit on his time on YouTube. See, because it's not exactly easy to find all that stuff, because Rich ain't spent a whole lot of time getting that stuff taken down. He gave up on it, you know, over the last couple years, and that's why there's a bunch of re-uploads floating around. But, yeah, Rich was on his bullshit, taking all that shit down for the longest time. Very much so, which is what puts him and Monday Matt in the same category, if not worse. So, look out for that when that comes about. And there's some other stuff out there, too, that I hope to be able to present to you, to show you where Rich came from, and to explain why he's at where he's at now, and to show how much worse he will eventually get. Should be fun. Here we go.
He is. I think people like that. Like, the people who like his content, like, I think they've kind of settled into the fact that they know that he's a fucking loser scumbag who's, you know, always beats the dead horse to get attention for himself. So that's what they like about him. They're not watching Rich because they like him. They're watching him because they like to laugh at him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they call those hate watchers. You have those too. You have those in spades. And truth be told, he's not necessarily wrong. Rich does have a lot of hate watchers. A shitload of them. So does Wings. So does any LOLCOW, for the most part. You do have, but Rich also has people who genuinely like him. He has people who genuinely don't know a lot about him, or some of the bullshit that he's done early on YouTube. So he hopes that time has healed all wounds. In the same way as Flamenco, in a lot of ways, where he's hoping to buy his time and not address some of the bullshit that is being levied against him, whether it's true or not is debatable, and hoping that people will just forget about it and it fizzles out. At least with Flamenco, at the very least, some of the charges against him are rather heinous, and he kind of needs to do something about that. But supposedly, Keem wants to get him in a boxing match with some 18-year-old kid. And, you know, if something comes out of that, it does, it don't. I think, speaking of which, celebrity of these YouTube boxing events or whatever, supposedly, iDubbbz just released his most recent card. So that might be interesting. XQC and somebody else were supposed to be on that, but they pussed out because that's what pussies do. But anyway, you know, he did release that card. It seems interesting. To be honest with you, XQC and whoever his opponent was, they weren't the only ones to bitch out. Someone else did too. And I say bitch out because if you had no intention on being on the card, then just say no. Just say no. You clearly agreed to something and then you decided to pull out later. And that, you know. Anyway, the point being is that the iDubbbz card has been released. I think that's supposed to be for like April? maybe? No, or maybe it's like August? Something like that. It's a ways out, but the card has been released, so we'll see what's what. And Keem is trying to go ahead and get his card together, and like I said, supposedly Flamenco is going to be on it. And if so, I think on the low end, Flamenco might walk away with like 10 grand. On the high end, he might walk away with 15. If he wins, then it gets even bigger. All right, let me just go ahead and give a little bit of prediction on this shit. I should just do a separate video, which I might. If by chance that Flamenco can get past this kid, if he could do it, there are so many fights that Flamenco could be lined up for him. Andy Warski, Ralph is probably one of the bigger fights. Savo, if he can get past his pissing addiction. There's all kinds of shit there's all kinds of people that literally could be matched up. And truth be told, all Flamenco has to do is win one fight, which is against this kid here. That's all he has to do. He can literally lose each and every one of the other fights leading up to Ralph or Savo Pancakes, whoever it is that's going to be his final boss, and it won't matter. As long as that shit's entertaining on the build-up. And because Flamenco don't know how to keep his shit together, it makes it even more, it'll make it even more interesting. Especially if he stays upset as he is with the commentator community. I'm just going to throw that out there now. I mean, like I said, the card was, Keem had made the offer to him like a week or two ago at the time that I'm recording this. So, if I can find all of that, I'll see if Diggs can put it together for me. We can go over it and be a funny little thing. But there is money out there for this nonsense if that's the case. Which only continues to prove how much of a fucking idiot Darkside Phil is. Because, not that anybody expected him to fight, but to have that LOLCOW podcast with him, Wings, and Boogie was supposed to be a promotional platform for Keem's fights. Keem wasn't just going to fund these tards just for the sake of it. Oh, it's going to be funny and they're robbing their communities. Fuck all that. No, it wasn't. He was using them as a platform to basically boost or pump up the things that matter. Meaning this boxing thing he's got going, his own podcast, which there would have been a crossover with him and his 20-year-old girlfriend or whatever that situation is. It was merely a stepping stone for everything else. And for 50 grand, just to sign on, just to kind of commit him to the contract, is a very small price to pay. So for people who still want to come out here and say, oh, well, you know, DSP was just trying to protect his brand. What brand? Honestly, what brand? The Detractor that starts tomorrow has better potential for their quote-unquote brand than DSP does now. DSP is nothing without somebody else. You guys see that on a day-to-day basis. If Detractors did what the Sector did for Ralph, and what was it, No Ralph November, if they left him alone for a month, you saw how Ralph went crazy and shit. He damn near died out. Damn near. I mean, until the gay ops with what's her name? Pantsu's alleged fake porn video came out, which is just her eating tacos. Could be a double meaning there. Whatever. Point being is, you saw what happened last November with that No Ralph November thing. Ralph was losing his goddamn mind not having anybody talk about him. And interest in him died out. And Ralph is actually fucking funny when he's mad. He is super fucking funny when he's mad. So, the podcast was another chance of many chances that DSP really could have gone in there and made himself some fucking money to be a lazy, uninformed piece of shit, which is what he is anyway, and gotten paid for it. Was he going to be used? Yeah. But he was getting paid for it. He was sacrificing his time, which wasn't worth $50,000, by the way, and he was going to get paid for it. His thing is, he didn't want to slump for Keemstar. His thing is, why does everybody give Keemstar all this love and shit? Why do people respect him? People don't respect me. Because Keem knows how to do business. And Keem has contacts. There are a lot of people. You think everybody who deals with Keemstar likes that fucking dude? No. He brings in money. He brings in attention. He brings in endorsements. And he brings protection. That's why Keem is valuable. That's 4 things. What does DSP provide? He can't protect himself. He can't protect his wife, apparently. He can't manage his money for shit, so financial security is out the fucking window. He's not entertaining unless there's an outside factor to it when they're not fighting amongst themselves. So what exactly does DSP bring to the table? Where's his value at? I'll wait.
Absolutely have a bunch of people who follow me because of that reason. But me, I also have a dedicated fan base of people who've been around for a long time, who like the kind of content I put out, who like the improvements I've made, and they want to be here for valid, positive reasons. People are watching.
But if you don't watch Rich, or if you don't want to interact with Rich, how do you know that he doesn't have the same thing? And it disgusts me that I have to fucking defend Rich, but for the sake of argument, how do you know that Rich has a long-time viewer base too? I'm sure there's a very small demographic of people who remember when Rich used to post those videos about people dying in all those strange-ass ways that not only helped grow his channel, but were some of the most viewed stuff on his channel until they mysteriously disappeared. Another thing that most people don't know about Rich. Not to say that other YouTubers didn't do it either, it's just Rich makes it sound like he's above that, like he has so much integrity that he wouldn't report on dead people, or he wouldn't report on people dying in these really horrifying fucking ways and shit. But, you know, not true crime ways. I mean, like, they were, like, really, like, just dumb, really, like, kind of just really weird ways people were being killed. And he would report on that as part of his daily content or whatever. Not to say that, you know, and not to say anything good or bad about it, but that is something that he did, which brought him a lot of attention. If you really know Rich's history, he's tried to do a lot, quite frankly. Streaming has probably been the most successful thing he has done, even over some of his older content. And Rich has gone through some bullshit. He stood up for some interesting causes, too. I would say, honestly, he should probably back the fuck off of that quantum thing, only because, I mean, it kind of just proved how worthless his channel is and how vulnerable he is. How is it that you have a million sub channel, and someone like Quantum who has 50, 60,000 or whatever, damn near got your channel taken down, and you couldn't do anything about it? That's crazy. And then when you really look at the whole the Ackman situation or whatever, it looks like Ackman was fabricating evidence. It looks like not everything went out the way he said it was. Whatever. There's other. Go to Willie Mack. I think Willie Mack actually broke all of that shit down and whatnot. Actually, I need to watch the Willie Mack video and see what the case is on that. But I'm pretty sure all that got broken down too. It was kind of ugly. It was kind of ugly. I'm not saying that the people shouldn't have spoken on what Quantum did, because it was bullshit. You can't sit there and take videos down from other people because they have a criticism of something that you said, dumb or not. But it made Rich look vulnerable. It made it seem like, you know what, YouTube don't value you, and so maybe you should be careful about how you tread and who you tread with. Word to the wise, I suppose.
Honestly, the next time he's going to do something stupid, the next time he's going to say the same dumb shit again, the next time he's going to suck a cucumber or kiss a cock. Like, that's why they watch Review Tech. They're not watching him to watch him review tech. You understand? There's a difference.
Well, yeah, Review Tech doesn't know a lot about tech. That's been proven with that whole trying to build the PC thing. But I will also say, though, too, I mean, he's not entertaining me, but to other people, he's entertaining, which is another thing that he kind of has over you. But please believe, Rich isn't no saint. He's certainly made all the mistakes DSP has, and some. Well, most of them. I wouldn't say all of them, but most of them. Like having his relationship on stream and everybody seeing how he actually treats his wife. That might not have been a good one there, champ, but whatever. Whatever. LOLCOWs trying to maintain relationships are usually not a good thing anyway, and usually work out bad for everybody involved. And keep in mind, if you know Rich's history, he was raising another man's kids for a while there too, before his before the last for his ex-wife there, or soon-to-be ex-wife, or maybe they're just separated, whatever. Hopefully they work it out for the sake of the kids. But Rich was doing that for a while too. Now I think about it, if I remember correctly, didn't one of the daughters, they weren't his daughters by the way, they were another man's kids, they called Rich out. This is a story that Rich was telling. I believe he said that it was something about an iPhone slowing down, and I think his daughter made a very astute observation, and Rich dismissed her because she was a child. Come to find out, she was actually right. I'll give Rich credit for at least manning up and admitting to that part, but it just goes to show age isn't everything. Especially not with you, which makes it even more ironic because you do, according, just as DSP said, you do review tech and you went ahead and messed up something very basic like that. Sorry. There's a lot that I could bring up on Rich. Ironically enough, he has a very rich LOLCOW type history. It's a shame that a lot of people have forgotten it. It explains why he does some of the stuff he does today. Anyway, let's continue.
Part is that kind of nonsensical LOLCOW content sells. Why do you think he has 1 million subscribers? But the difference is that's the content he has to make. That's literally what he has to do. I can be true to myself.
I mean, what can Rich actually do? You're giving Rich maybe a tad bit too much credit. What can Rich actually do? He's tried everything. So, you know, maybe that's DSP trying to, yet again, giving him a little bit too much credit. I mean, there's not too much Rich can actually do these days, to be honest. Outside of reading whatever reports or whatever news stories that come up and reacting to content. Not to say that there's anything wrong with either one of those things. I mean, shit, Monday Matt made it to 100,000 subs doing that. So, you know, it is what it was. I mean, if you go ahead and remove some of the dead subs from Rich's channel in a similar way with Wings, in a similar way with most LOLCOWs, actually, if you remove some of the dead subs, they wouldn't be where they're at now. But everybody knows that.
Make the meaningful content that I love to make and still make a living doing it, and that's something cool and special. And I'm very appreciative to all of you. Thank you for allowing me to do that. I really do appreciate that. Okay? So all that being said,
but yet again, a lot of what he said there is just projection, though. He falls into that exact same category. To be honest with you, you and Rich both failed at whatever it was that you guys tried to accomplish, and now you guys are just stuck dealing with or actually just making the best of what you guys have. Truth be told. Because if Rich wasn't scared, he would just go ahead and stream on his main channel. Why not? He's got 1 million subs. He don't do that. He'd rather stay on the other one and build. I think he's building his way up to 100,000. But maybe someone should ask him that. Why isn't he on his main channel streaming? What is he so scared of? It's almost like Rich's main channel is just like DSP's YouTube button. It just states that he was here, that he accomplished something, but he really can't do anything with it. He's too scared of something happening to it, or it being devalued, as if it wasn't already. It's just something to think about.
I don't care what he says or does. I don't care how toxic he is, because he's got a big thing here. He's talking about this guy, and he's toxic, and blah, blah, blah. But what I will say is, he says, I wish I was able to catch your content live more often, but I usually watch your videos on demand. Anyways, thanks for my content, okay? So, he also says, I just want you to let you know that I don't think that his flip-flopping attitude about you is not indicative of his audience as a whole. Again, no, I don't think that's true. I think you're right. I think what it is his audience. Does he have a group of people who like him? Yes. Yes, and likely those are the people who've been with him for a very long time who know who the real Rich is. But sadly now, he banks on... He's said it to me before. He's literally said to me directly, I'm a LOLCOW, and I bank on being a LOLCOW, and I let that pay me. Seriously, he said that to me directly. Sorry.
So what? I mean, what other choice does he have? Rich lost whatever respectability he had a long time ago. Rich's flip-flopping has gotten him in a lot of trouble over the years. The man doesn't know how to stand on his own, too. And truth be told, I think he took that from Boogie. I think because Boogie does that all the time, and he has done it. And I think it was something that Rich tried to incorporate in. It didn't work out because Rich at least comes off like he has a lot of strong stance about some of the stuff he said. And how many apology videos has Rich made over the years? Enough. Enough to know that you shouldn't take him seriously outside of the entertainment factor of it. Am I saying that everything that Rich says is wrong? No. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. There are plenty of examples, though, but no, not everything that he says is wrong. But when he tries to make strong statements, whether politically or socially or whatever the case may be, you should take them with a grain of salt. You should do that with anybody on the internet, to be honest with you. If you want to hear his opinion, then by all means, but make sure that you keep it as just an opinion and form your own thoughts on it. There are people who look at Rich and actually think he's entertaining. And by all means, that's something that you have the right to do. But that's the main point, though, as it pertains to Rich and his LOLCOW nonsense, and then DSP. Rich understands that it's about entertainment. Because if not, he doesn't have too many other options. Because, for example, if Rich's exposed podcast was so damn fucking popular and successful, like he tried to make it sound, he wouldn't have made such a bitch-ass fuss when DSP didn't want to go on it that first time around. There's a Mighty D video out there that goes over it. And Rich was talking about how, I don't need you to come on my podcast. I was doing you a favor. I just wanted to get your story out. But I have this person coming on. I have this person coming on. I have this person coming on. But where's all that at now? Why'd you stop? Just saying. He threw it up in DSP's face like it was something that was growing and that was really going to evolve into something. And then it fizzled out. Why did it fizzle out? Maybe it was too much work for him. Maybe he couldn't get the people on that he wanted to get on. Maybe he was just so mindfucked that DSP told him to fuck off that he couldn't handle it. I don't know. All of those things are rather valid excuses, to say the very least. Just saying. I think the only one that I actually saw of that was the Wings one. That was the first time he interviewed Wings, though. I mean, it is what it was. To be honest with you. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. But maybe someone should ask Rich why he stopped the podcast.
No. I'm not going to let people who are online bullies and abusing people have their way with me, and now I have to change who I am as a content creator to make a buck doing it. Absolutely.
What sense does that make? I mean, if detractors, trolls, haters, and critics, you know, these mentally ill idiots and shit, if they're all considered online bullies and shit, don't they have their way with you all the time? Matter of fact, the way your wife is downstairs crying at every little thing, theoretically, they're having their way with her too. Just not in the way that she would want. Anyway, so what's the difference? What's the difference? I want you to really think about that. And truth be told, the more DSP fights, the more entertaining it becomes. I mean, his gameplay is garbage. It's not worth it anymore to really try to pull anything on that, unless it's a game that you give a fuck about. Street Fighter, Call of Duty, maybe any type of RPG that you're interested in. Those things are worth dissecting. Now that I think about it, some of DSP's Street Fighter 6 stuff, I do want to make an effort to go over that. There's two different content creators that I'm thinking about, in particular, their content of going over, especially over the Street Fighter 6 stuff in particular. But I'm looking forward to that, because the bloodletting that's going to happen when come June is going to be fan-fucking-tastic. On top of that, the fact that there are more people now who are taking an active interest in the idea of how bad DSP is at Street Fighter, for example, and how bad was he, and should he actually be given credit? Are we going to, you know, are we being too biased, whatever. I think it's a conversation that needs to be had. And I think the fact that there are already people out there actively doing it, I think is a great thing. So, by far, when we get to that point, look forward to it. Or at least if you don't want to, you know, hear my part of it, I'll link the actual stuff down in the description when I do those videos. And then you can check that out at your leisure. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing how people make the argument that, oh, he's been playing for so long, he can't be so terrible, yet he getting cleaned up by the average everyday Joe online. Let alone what the pros are doing. Like, when he gets beaten up by Evil AJ, when he gets beaten up by Goji Tanks, and then when he gets beaten up by the pros, truth be told, there ain't too much of a difference, is there? If you really look at it. If you really look at how Goji Tanks cleans his ass up, and you look at how Chris G cleaned his ass up, I don't know. I saw two different men have their way with the same piece of pork, and truth be told, I probably wouldn't have been able to tell the difference if I knew who was playing or not. To be honest. I think you could have swapped Goji Tanks and Chris G together, and you could just flip-flop them, and I wouldn't have known the difference. All I would have known is there was a piece of pork that was just getting cut the fuck up, and there was nobody out there to save him, and he had all the excuses in the world on why he couldn't do better or why he couldn't be better. Like, if you think about the Chris G match, for example. Sorry, I'm going on a bit of a rant. He sat there, instead of being a man, right, and I use that term loosely, instead of DSP being a man and going on Twitter and saying, hey, big ups to Chris G, great matches, thank you very much. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for the ass whooping that you gave me. Oh, well, he had other opportunities. You know, who knows how much, you know, how many opportunities he had to play before I got a chance to play, or who knows how much information was passed to him, or he looked up before he played, but good game all around. Couldn't even just give the man the respect in that, hey, good match. He had to come up with all these excuses, all these advantages that Chris G had over him, right? Before we got to the point where he could say, you know, thanks for the matches. Couldn't even do that. Couldn't show a level of humility for a second and just be like, good game. And then we saw what Viscant later, he tried to copy his Guile after that and failed miserably because he doesn't understand any of the functionalities or the mechanics of Guile. He just saw this dude hit him multiple times with a setup and then improved on that setup, and DSP thought he could just emulate it. Then ends up giving that up and going back to the same basic bitch Guile nonsense and kept getting beat up, essentially. DSP, for all intents and purposes, has never been good at anything. He just emulates shit. And then the fact that he don't believe in practice, he doesn't even... If you asked him, hey, DSP, why don't you go into the lab and do shit? Say it just like that. Phrase it just like that. Hey, DSP, in Street Fighter 6, why aren't you in the lab testing shit out? I'd be surprised if he even knew what the term lab meant. But he damn sure don't know what practice means. I'll tell you that. And if he did have better days, those days have passed him. Reactions, reflexes, quick thinking, gone. He needs to know what tactics work, and he needs it to work in his favor each and every time. If not, fuck all with that. Jesus Christ, you could say that low tier... I would say low tier God is better than DSP. The only difference is, at least as it pertains to Street Fighter 5, one, DSP barely played it, but two, when DSP did play it, he played it like Super Turbo because he can't adapt to anything new. But more importantly than that, when low tier God doesn't have resources, he puts up a much better fight than when he does. When low tier God has resources, when he has meter, when he has all these different things at his disposal, there are times where he doesn't seem to know when or how to use it unless he's following a flowchart. If you take all that away from him, it forces him to actually think. And I think he fights better that way. I think his matches are more entertaining that way. He's still a piece of shit, but I think his matches are more entertaining that way. DSP, you could give him all the resources, or you could take them away, and he'll still get bodied, and he'll still have an excuse for it. How good was he then? How good is he if all he has to do, or if all he ever does, is make an excuse for why he can't get shit done? Just saying. Just throwing it out there. I understand that a lot of you want to go, well, some of you want to go ahead and try to give him the benefit of the doubt and don't want to bash him because he plays some game for like 20, 25 years or whatever the case may be. But the fact that he gets cleaned up by the average Joe guys on a regular basis, and then he has no chance against any of the pro players unless they fucking with him, right? Unless they're actually fucking with him, and then just so they can clean him up in later rounds or in later sets, proves what? How is it that you devoted yourself to Street Fighter for over 20 years, and this is what you have to show for it? And the only thing you have to say is lag. But yet you won't go to any of the LAN events because you get cleaned up there too. And because there's this consecutive push for Street Fighter to come to console, or no, not the console, sorry, for at least competitive play tournaments. I mean, at least some tournaments. To go to PC, that changes the game right then and there. It's the closest thing to land that you're going to get. What's the excuse going to be then? I don't expect any of you listening or him to go ahead and play Street Fighter 6 on PC. I don't expect that. No one does. But what I will say is, once that excuse is removed from the situation, once DSP finally cons some idiot into giving him the PC that he needs to finally be able to play online, what's his excuse going to be then? It's easy to go ahead and hide behind a console. It's easy to go ahead and hide behind his shitty-ass internet. And it's very easy to go ahead and cry and complain about, oh, I still got a bad reputation and people still hate me and all the Detractor content, and that's why I can't go anywhere live. I can't go to LANs or whatever, or a LAN tournament. You can give him all that if you want. But once the PC push is really made through the life cycle of Street Fighter 6, and he gets that brand new shiny PC that has all the nice bells and whistles and can handle shit, what's going to be his excuse then? what's going to be his excuse then?
But that's what he's done. Like, that's literally what he has done. And that's fucked up. That he banks on toxicity, stupidity. The guy acts like a 4-year-old online, and that's okay to him as long as he's making money. That's complete opposite of me. Seriously, like, I couldn't be further from him. So I don't want to sit here and talk about what he said or what he did. I don't care. I don't want to talk about Rich. I appreciate your $10 tip, but let's just act like the guy doesn't fucking exist. Because in reality, he doesn't. In reality,
he does. Because if he didn't, you wouldn't have gone into this diatribe over this nonsense. That's the equivalent of me saying that DSP doesn't exist in the real world or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't deny that DSP exists. Actually, I acknowledge his existence in a way that most people won't by saying the dude's a cancer. He's a plague. He's an incurable parasite who consumes who uses, abuses, and consumes everything that's in his path. That's undeniable. But either way, as it pertains to the situation with Rich and DSP in particular, and why you may never see a conversation actually happen between these two unless Rich pays out, and I'm sure Rich knows that, is DSP doesn't want to look at Rich. Because when DSP looks at Rich, he sees himself. Because truth be told, when Rich looks at himself, when Rich looks at DSP, he sees himself too. The only difference is, and you can give Rich credit for this if you want to, he's come to terms with that. He's kind of okay with that idea. But DSP is still wrestling with that shit. It may be years and years down the line when DSP finally admits that he's a LOLCOW, he's a joke, and has to settle with it. But even then, it wouldn't be truthful. He'll only do it for profit. So the same thing that he's condemning Rich for right now, he'll end up doing later on down the line. In the exact same way how he used to shit on other streamers for having different gimmicks, putting on silly little hats, coloring their hair, and doing all this strange, crazy stuff, right? And his words, not mine. And he does that same fucking shit now. Same thing with that lame-ass background. Same thing with those pathetic-looking lights. Same thing with the fucking beauty light that he has on his ass now. Things that he condemned years ago. And now look at him. A social whore. Because how dare you condemn those people and those practices, and then you go ahead and pick them up later and be like, oh, well, that's the status quo. But in reality, ladies and gentlemen, this is no different than going to direct capture. Same concept, same idea, same depth and style. He thought that that wasn't the way that should be done. It'll eventually fade out, and when it does, he'll be on top of the mountain. In actuality, he was down at the bottom walloping in the shit while everybody else profited. And then got mad that other people were able to profit from it. Got mad that people went ahead and really got into the edited content to be more entertaining instead of the same dribble, redundant bullshit that he was peddling out day after day after day. Got mad when people got sponsorships and other opportunities that he passed up on because he didn't want to be a sellout. Or he didn't want to miss his daily uploads. Think about it.
In the win, like all these other content creators that jump on the trends, act like an asshole just to make $1. At the end of the day, his content will just go away and mean nothing. Any given day, you could skip anything that he does, and you've missed nothing.
I'd say the same thing about you, too. To be honest with you. I mean, most of my favorite detractors I binge watch. I don't watch all of them every day. Some of them I do. Like Snort Burnell I watch every day, if they upload every day. And whatnot. There's probably maybe one or two others. But everybody else I usually just binge watch in a playlist. And that's no shot against them. But truth be told, you can skip DSP on a Tuesday, and it's the same nonsense on a Wednesday, or on a Thursday, or on a Friday. It's not that much of a difference, to be honest with you. So for him to say that Rich is so redundant that you could skip a day, the same thing could be said about him too.
The new sensationalist nonsense he said or did on his stream, who cares? You didn't add nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's just a waste of your time. But you get a little bit of a laugh every day when you watch the guy act like a jackass. So I get that. I totally get that. Me, I'm trying to do meaningful, ongoing playthroughs, give you fun conversation, social interaction that's worthwhile, not a bunch of toxic shit. I'm not being an asshole on my stream to make a buck. I'm not going to do stunts on my stream to make a buck. That's with him. That's literally...
I mean, you dressing up like Mr. Potato Head's not a stunt? Meaningful interaction? Hey, why isn't anybody in the chat talking? Is there something wrong with the chat? What's going on? Hey, you guys haven't tipped in a while. Is there something wrong with PayPal? Is that meaningful interaction? Hey, why isn't anybody talking to me, helping me get through this part? Or figure out this puzzle? What's going on? If you guys are not going to talk to me, why are you guys even here? Why are you guys even here? What's the point of coming to my stream if you're not going to interact with me? Which is a weird-ass thing for a streamer to ask for anyway. You're streaming live with the expectation, with the idea of encouraging, to inspire interaction. So if you're doing it and no one's talking to you, don't you think that's a problem on your part? Anyway, semantics. So let's not talk about meaningful interaction, fun times, not being toxic when we're on our fucking pre-coat podcast, our bottom bitch podcast, bitching about another person. Saying that I am above them and I don't need to talk about them and they don't really exist to me while I am, well, we're 40 minutes in, but DSP is like 4 minutes into talking about this. Let's be serious. Why don't you just sidestep this like any troll comment or whatever? Oh, because they gave you money? No, that's not true. Because DSP gets troll tips and he skips them. One of the few people he don't skip is Snow Carl. And that's because people like Snow Carl. So he really can't risk doing that. Semantics.
What he does now, you know? Sad. Anyway, let's continue. William S. did a super chat. Thank you. To be fair, I discovered your channel just because of Rich. I think it would be fun if you guys collaborated. No. And then he says, hope all is well. You know why I'm not going to collaborate with someone who's insanely toxic to me, right? Like, literally goes out of his way all the time to just be toxic to me to make a buck. He's a scumbag. Listen, okay, here's the difference between...
Now, here's another thing, too. Not to be uncharitable to Rich, because I don't give a fuck about Rich, but truth be told, it wouldn't be fair to not bring this up. DSP had an influx of... Well, maybe not an influx. It might be maybe me being too generous. Some of Rich's viewer base actually came over to DSP and bought memberships, at least for themselves at the very least, and donated because of Rich. This is before Rich decided to cancel his membership or whatever the case may be. So you can't say that Rich, in some way, shape, or form, you didn't profit off of him. On top of that, hasn't Rich given you $300 or $400 or some nonsense? I mean, Rich is a pay pig to you. So that is what Rich is. He's a pay pig. So like you could at least give that dude a little bit more credence to his existence. The guy is giving you money. You know what I'm saying? The guy is giving you money. I'm not saying he needs to get Snow Carl treatment, but I'm just saying you could be a little bit more charitable, if you will, to the situation or the scenario.
End it. Last year, I reacted to the Down the Rabbit Hole documentary about Wings of Redemption, correct? It was one of the most popular things I did in 2022. Viewership, feedback, engagement, and yes, even support. I made an insane amount of popularity and money on that. I really did. Okay.
I made an insane amount of popularity? Why would you say something like that? Like, why wouldn't you just say, I had an influx of viewership? And people were very generous with contributions, because you know DSP hates saying money. I don't know why, but it's some weird autistic fucking cope that he has or some shit. But more importantly than that, for someone who DSP has spent a number of years shitting on, meaning Wings, the fact that one of the most, if not the most successful thing you did in 2023, and this is me being an asshole, I'm sure he may have done other stuff, I just can't remember at the moment. The fact that one of the more successful things that you did in 2022, I should say, I'm sorry, was the Wings of Redemption Down the Rabbit Hole, which eclipsed your own, which is, yet again, funny on so many levels. That must hurt, because he shitted on Wings for years. Wings has, as far as I remember, I think Wings asked him to play 2 different Call of Duties, maybe Battlefield. He said he'd be willing to talk. Wings said he was willing to talk to him in like a podcast type manner. Like, Wings has really tried to... Well, keep in mind, though, too, in one of those requests to play a game, Wings said that he sent him an email, and allegedly he didn't. If I remember correctly. Because I think it's in, like, a Lummox video, where Wings finally admits that he didn't actually send the email. He said he did, but he actually didn't. At least the first time. Anyway, the point being is that Wings has tried very, very hard to... I don't know if I'd say cozy up, but to try to form some type of relationship with DSP. Some type of camaraderie, if you will. Which just goes to show that DSP, or that Wings nor DSP has enough interaction in their own lives that maybe they should go outside and actually talk to some real fucking people. Just saying. Like, anyway, whatever. Just saying. That just seems kind of fucking weird. But whatever. He's tried very hard to ingratiate himself to DSP, and DSP has rebuffed it at pretty much all at all opportunities, at all chances and shit. And then you had to get on your piggy hoof and knee when you started doing reaction content to go and beg Wings, hey, can I react to this content? And let's be perfectly honest, when DSP does this reaction content, and he's trying to ingratiate himself to all these other creators, Frederick, Rob, and all these other guys, he's not asking them for permission to react to their content. He's asking for permission to profit from their content. That's what he's doing. Let's just call spade a spade. So you had to beg the Wings to, hey, can you react to his Down the Rabbit Hole? He says, go ahead and get your money, pimp. You, because I remember DSP talking about this on a podcast, he said he was kind of put off by it because he thought that was a weird reaction to have to a situation, which is just Wings yet again, like Rich, accepting what his place is in the world. And you reacted to it. And ironically enough, within the first hour, no, maybe the first 2 hours, maybe the first 3 hours, I can't remember what it was, but within the first 2 or 3 hours of DSP's reaction, Wings and Kelly were reacting to him, and they made more money off the rip than DSP did. DSP may have beaten them in the end, but Wings made far more money in a shorter amount of time than DSP did. That must be embarrassing. So let me go ahead and paint the scenario. He goes to Wings, begs him for permission to react to another man's video about Wings. Wings says, go ahead and get your money. DSP somehow gets put off by that, but decides to go forth with it anyway, thinking that if he does this video, it's going to boost her up, it's going to boast, I should say, his own Down the Rabbit Hole reaction, and he's going to win in the end. In actuality, he ends up making a pretty decent, pretty good amount of money off Wings, but Wings makes even more money off of him in a shorter amount of time. And now, when you go back and look at DSP's channel, that might have been one of the more successful campaigns that DSP did in 2022. A video that he had to beg another man for, he had to beg 2 people for, was probably the most successful thing that he did. Over his own, quote-unquote, meaningful content that he puts out every fucking day. Because remember, reactionary content is lazy, it's stupid, it's the bottom of the barrel, it's negative, it has no purpose, and it, you know, has no value. Remember, that's all the things that DSP has told you. Just something to think about.
Totally. Was my whole 2022 about making fun of Wingsofredemption after that?
I mean, you were making fun of Wings before that, to be honest. And you could go ahead and try... That's a good screenshot, by the way. One of the few times he makes himself seem like he's thinking. You were making fun of Wings before that. Within the same calendar year. But more importantly than that, you're the one that had to beg him for permission. So, whether you made fun of him once or twice, or you did, or ever, or you did it the whole way through, I should say, the year, it doesn't really matter, because you still had to go to Wings and beg him for permission to view a video that wasn't even Wings. It wasn't even his video. Who cares? And then, wasn't he in one of your wrestling sims later on down the line? So you can go ahead and fuck off and sit there and say, oh, well, I wasn't dunking on him all year, yada, yada, yada. You beg that man for permission to profit from him. You beg that man for permission to profit off of him. I don't give a shit how much shit talking you did to him throughout the year. You begged that man for permission to profit off of him. Fuck off with that.
I mean, every once in a while, Wings was in one of my fantasy matches in WWE, which in reality, he kicked ass in that last one, and actually, I think it made him look pretty good. But for the most part, was that what my year was? Because I realized I could make bank on this, so I should just, keep beating the dead horse? No. In fact, the only reason I did that react was because I got permission from Wings to do it. And then after that, I actually asked Wings for permission to react to possibly a follow-up documentary. And, the response he gave me kind of made me feel bad.
Didn't you just say that you weren't trying, that it wasn't all about double tapping and trying to figure out a way to profit off someone, but then you went back to him again? Hold up. Let's bring that back. Let's bring that back. Let's bring that back.
I actually asked Wings for permission to react to possibly a follow-up documentary.
Sorry, I'm not far enough. Give me a second.
And then after that, I actually asked Wings for permission to react to...
Alright, let's try this.
So I should just, keep beating the dead horse? No.
Keep beating the dead horse. Well, I'm not going to bring it back another time. I have fouled up enough already. So we'll just pick it up from here. So I'm not going to continue to beat a dead horse after coming off of a successful campaign, begging off reacting off of Wings of Redemption. But then...
The only reason I did that react was because I got permission from Wings to do it. And then after that, I actually asked Wings for permission to react to possibly a follow-up documentary. And, the response he gave me kind of made me feel bad. He was basically like, at this point, so many people say negative things about me on the internet that I don't think that you reacting to any of them is really going to hurt or help me anymore. So do whatever you want. And when he said that, I kind of felt really sad.
How the fuck did you feel really sad about that when Wings told you the very first time? Well, when Wings told you the first time to get your money, pimp, do what you got to do. How was that made any different from this one? And then you said you feel really sad. That doesn't mean you're not going to do it. He just said he doesn't. He said that Wings said he doesn't care. Do what you want. Well, let's go back to the Evil AJ situation with Metal Gear Solid 2. Did DSP ask Evil AJ, hey, did he tweet at him, I should say, hey, can I react to your this is how you don't play? No. He sent one of his cucks out there to do it. And dude said he didn't really care, but that wasn't him saying yes or no. So let's give you an example. Let's say I went out to Soma Julius Cruz and I was like, hey man, there's a video. Let's say there's a video by Soma Julius Cruz that I wanted to react to and whatnot. Am I going to go through someone in his viewership or someone in his fan base to be like, hey, I want to react to this video. Why don't you go out there and, test the water for me and see what's up. It's called putting out feelers, by the way, but you know what I mean. Go out there and see what he says and see what the difference is about that. See how he feels, if anything, which Soma wouldn't care either which way. But let's just for the sake of argument. There's a difference between going through someone to get permission and then doing it yourself. So when you go back and you look at that Evil AJ situation where this is how you don't play, if first off, Evil AJ putting that stuff unlisting those videos or privating those videos made sense because the Detractor community at that time was essentially on high alert because people were getting knocked off left and right. That's the first thing. Secondly, DSP didn't ask that man for permission. And just because he said fuck on to fuck all to someone else isn't the same as giving you permission. That's what that's coming down to. That's what I mean about don't be surprised if DSP does that follow-up. He can sit here and try to say, oh, I felt bad and all this bullshit now. But he saw the money he made off the first one. That's why he came back for the double tap on him the second time. That's why he was like, well, hey, man, I was just wondering if I could go ahead and can I slum off of you for another one? Can I get another taste of that? That Wendy's chili hit me right the first time. I'd like to have some more. Can I get some cheddar cheese on it this time, too? And DSP is going to try to play some bullshit, more grounded, whatnot, to try to stay in line with the nonsense with Rich. Because if this wasn't a Rich conversation, ladies and gentlemen, if this wasn't about Review Tech USA, you wouldn't hear what you're hearing now. He would just say, oh, well, I'm thinking about, doing another reaction to another Wings documentary. I spoke to Wings, and he said, he didn't really care either which way, so I don't know when I'm going to do it yet. I have to set up the goal. I have to figure out a month. I got to figure out when am I going to be busy. I got to figure out what hot games are coming out, but I think eventually we'll do it. It'll be one of the reactions we do later in 2023. Someone tell me that what I just said is not something you haven't heard before, or isn't plausible that he would say later on down the line, or he would say in this exact situation or scenario. Sorry. Tell me. Tell me. That SnortBucks coffee is hitting me heavy right now. God dog. Thank God for SnortBucks. Delicious. Anyway, point being, how does that not sound like a scenario that DSP wouldn't say? Because clearly DSP is going to act upon it. Let's not act like there's any morals to this, ladies and gentlemen. Sooner or later, I think you're gonna see that second Wings of Redemption shit, because it's probably the most successful reaction video that he's done. So this whole Super Bowl commercial bullshit and all this other lame ass shit, it means nothing. A LOLCOW will always be successful, more times than not, I should say, reacting to some other LOLCOW shit. I mean, Jesus Christ, DSP has kind of said that he might do some Review Tech USA reaction videos too. Because Review Tech USA has a lot of LOLCOW shit out there as well. Maybe not. That's the reason why I want to cut into that market. We'll see. But the point being is DSP is not above that. So don't let this little pitter-patter about, oh, I feel bad for Wings and all this, that, and the third, fucking mean anything about anything. Wings is out there to be profited upon. DSP sees it just like he sees the viewership for all the troll videos out there on Wings. Why do you think he even chose Wings in the first place? Think about it for just a second, ladies and gentlemen. Outside of him thinking he could bolster his own profile and anticipation for his own Down the Rabbit Hole, why else did he even choose to do the Wings Down the Rabbit Hole video? He saw the numbers. And he saw all the troll videos out there on it. And most of those troll videos eclipse the views that some of his own detractors, trolls, haters, and critics get. So of course he wanted a piece of that. And he saw the money. He clearly wanted the money from it. So what other obstacles were in his way to prevent him from doing it? And then, yet again, you cash out the end of the year and he realizes, fuck, I made a lot of money off Wings. I need to go back and do it again. And there's a bunch of different stuff out there on Wings in long or shorter format. He could do a whole year's worth of that. He could do years upon years of that shit. And if he's not man enough to go ahead and react to his own top 10 worst moments or anything, which DSP should, and I think honestly he will eventually, the least he could do is that. Just something to think about. But let me bring back the Wings part of it.
And, the response he gave me kind of made me feel bad. He was basically like, at this point, so many people say negative things about me on the internet that I don't think that you reacting to any of them is really going to hurt or help me anymore. So do whatever you want. And when he said that, I kind of felt really sad. Because I was like, that's the response of someone who's kind of given up and doesn't really care anymore. And that's sad. It made me feel real bad. And I was like, I hope that, that react that I did didn't hurt him. I got his permission to do it. That doesn't mean that maybe he doesn't feel like maybe it was hurtful to him. And
here's another thing. Wait a second. Why does any of that mean anything to you now? Oh, I got his permission, but that doesn't mean it didn't hurt him. Well, it's funny because when you went to Low Tier God, he plainly told you, yeah, don't react to my shit, fucker. And what'd you do? You took the knee and said, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So there's that. But you can go ahead and go to Low Tier God and ask him for permission. You can go to Wings of Redemption and ask him for permission. But you can't go to Evil AJ and ask for his permission? You had to send someone else to do it? Like Evil AJ is beneath you? Alright. Whatever.
And do the follow-up documentary. It actually made me feel really bad that this guy probably goes through so much on a daily basis, and he has that defeatist attitude that everyone hates him, and so it doesn't matter what anyone says or does anymore, and that's why I didn't do it, and that's why, if you noticed, I haven't done anything about Wings since then, because I don't want to hurt the guy. The guy never did a damn thing to hurt me. I don't want to hurt the guy.
Whoa. Now I know there's other people out there and whatnot who think they think they know Wings' history and shit, and big on them or whatever. But you said Wings never did anything to you. But in 2015, didn't you say that Wings lied on you as it pertains to the podcast he wanted you to come on with Wings, Jive Turkey, Eddie, and who was that fourth guy? Oh, White Boy 7th Street. And you said that those guys lied on you on why you couldn't show up to the podcast or whatever the case may be, or the fact that they said you blew them off and you said they were talking shit about you? DSP had said that for years, that he accused those guys of shitting on him for no good reason. But now he's saying, oh, well, Wings never did anything to me? Huh.
Guy who's made mistakes, and you know what I'm saying? And you know, Rich is the opposite. Rich is, oh, look at this. I said something harmful, or I covered something that was harmful to someone and I made money, so I'll just keep doing it. Even if the person outright tells me, please stop because it's hurting me, I'll do it anyway. Because literally last year, I talked to Rich multiple times, said, just please stop. And he doesn't care. He's a selfish prick. He doesn't give a shit about me or anybody else but himself. That's why.
Why should he? Why should he care about you? You take disability checks from other people. You shit on other content creators that you don't even know. I'm a hypocrite. One could say I could do that too, because I've taken shots at a bunch of people as well. But, But you've taken you've shot at people, you've shitted on people, really. Not to push the goalpost back. You've shitted on people just because they were more successful than you. You've shitted on people because of the type of popularity, the type of money they made, the type of opportunities they had. The same opportunities, quote unquote, that may have been available to you at one time or another 10 fucking years ago, or whatever the case may be. Why should anybody give a fuck about what Dark Side Phil feels about anything, when in every community that he's ever been in, or every job he's ever been in, he has sat there and been a negative prick for no goddamn reason outside the fact that people had it better than he did. Or at least he felt that people had it better than he did. Think about that yet again, going back to DSP's bullshit. Going back to the Chris G situation. Oh, well, who knows what kind of exposure he had to the game before I played it, so of course he was going to do better than me. Instead of just taking the L. Why does Rich have to give a fuck about you? Why does anybody have to give a fuck about you? Now, Rich is a pay pig. Let's call a spade. Rich is a pay pig. So whatever. But then again, isn't that what was the name of that podcast a bunch of you guys were boasting up for a while and shit, and then you guys saw them for what they really were, and then you guys backed off? Steel Toe. That Steel Toe morning show shit. They gave them money too, right? So that makes them pay pigs too. So these people are pay pigs, but why should they actually give a fuck about you or your feelings? Now, matter of fact, yet again, me defending Rich again for whatever goddamn reason. Why doesn't DSP shit on Steel Toe morning show? Them guys react to his shit too. Or at least they did. I don't know what they do now. But they did for a while. Built themselves quite an audience. Matter of fact, I honestly believe Steel Toe was trying to build a DSP viewer base within a viewer base. Which is, I could go into that a little bit more. We'll see how I feel in the next, 2 minutes. But, why not shit on them guys? And those two didn't give a fuck about you. Matter of fact, didn't the host actually get his wife to reach out to you? I thought that's what the story was. I think that was right around the interview nonsense going on, when the interview thing first started up. I may have to go back and look, so don't hold me to that. But I'm pretty confident I heard a soundbite of dudes saying that he had his wife reach out to you and see if you'd be interested in doing an interview with them to get your side of the story, and and I don't even know if you even answered them back. Don't hold me to that, but I'm pretty confident that was something that was said at one time or another. But point being is, why aren't you shitting on them? And they're affiliated with Rich, which is one of the reasons why you didn't want to interact with them in the first place, because they're in bed with Rich, and they're in bed with Keemstar too, which is the whole reason why DSP dismissed the whole Steel Toe shit in the first place. Got to be careful with who you're associated with. So that's what ended up fucking them off on that. But he never took no shots at that show, really. Why not? Anywho, the point being is, why should anybody care about anything that you do or how the fuck you feel? That shit is public knowledge. That's public shit. Like the shit that I'm about to go ahead and put on Rich in a minute. All the shit's out there in public. It's all out there in video form somewhere. Is Rich gonna fucking turn into a bitch and come to me and say, hey, you should please don't upload that stuff? He best not. And I don't think he will. Because he knows what the fuck he did. He don't talk about it because he wanted to fade, but he knows what he did. And being that he's in LOLCOW status anyway, he's just going to accept it and eat it. As all LOLCOW should. But no one has to give a fuck about you when it pertains to anything. Your personal feelings in the matter don't mean a goddamn thing. If that's the case, get the fuck off the internet. If you have feelings about anything that people say about you, that you publicly put it out there, get the fuck off the internet. You've already made a fundamental mistake. It's probably time to get up and out. Either accept it and move on, or get the fuck out. Rich doesn't have to care about you. He doesn't have to give a shit about you. Rich has spent a good amount of his career fucking other people over. What makes you any different? At least in this particular position, he's willing to hit you with lube. Because he screwed over a lot of people who didn't do anything to him just because he thought he could. Keep that in mind.
He does. You know? So it is what it is. I don't want to talk about that fuckface anymore. Okay.
Well, that was fun. I kind of wish there was more. Oh well. There's plenty of videos out there of DSP shitting on Rich. So it is what it is. We'll get to all that eventually. Anywho, ladies and gentlemen, big ups to Diggs on that. Very much appreciate it. And so on and so forth. And give me a second to reconvene for final thoughts, and we'll let you guys go. Let's get back to that bacon sizzling. See you guys in a second. To the marketing department here at SnortBucks, man. You need to make some like sparkling water or something, and not that seltzer water garbage that DSP drinks. Like just flavored sparkling water. I mean, you should drink a lot of regular water too, but you know what I mean. Holy shit! Oh, I kind of went on salt overload with this one. So much pork. Just, you know what I'm saying? So much pork. You know what I'm saying? Jesus Christ! And I love bacon. Don't let anybody tell you differently. But God, dog, just a lot of pork. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen. So, there you go on that. A whole lot of projection on DSP's part. A lot of hypocrisy. He's a hypocrite, but we're all hypocrites. As it pertains to a lot of the shit that he said about Rich. It's not like he's any better than him, because he's not, by leaps and bounds. The Wings of Redemption part was my real, for me, was the real focus that I really wanted you guys to take in. He's going to double tap Wings. He's going to. He's going to. He can't, he's salivating at the goddamn snout about it. He's already, and like I said, even if, here's the thing. The fact that Wings didn't say no already gives DSP the green light. So he's gonna go for that no matter what. To act like you give a fuck about Wings or whatever is bullshit. And the fact that you didn't go ahead and double tap him right then and there just goes to show the common practice or mentality that DSP has, that if something is working for him, he's got to keep doing it, and he's got to keep doing it, he's got to keep doing it. And I wonder what the real reason was for him not wanting to do a second Wings of Redemption reaction. I'm sorry. I'm wondering what the real reason was, because it wasn't Wings' feelings. He could give fuck all about Wings' feelings. So I'm really curious about what that what the actual reason is. I'm sure I'll come up with something eventually. But or someone else will have something a bit more to say about it. But that wasn't his reason, ladies and gentlemen. Any of you guys who know your salt as it pertains to DSP, you know that's not it. It's not about people's feelings. It's not about being considerate. There's another reason behind it. He's gonna look to build it up eventually. So, and like I said, you're seeing a direct correlation as it pertains to the hypocrisy, as it pertains to the reaction stuff between what he did to Wings and the nonsense that he tried to pull with Evil AJ. You know what I'm saying? You didn't ask Evil, as far as I saw, as it pertains to Twitter, because that's where most of this happened at. You didn't directly ask Evil AJ for permission to react to any of his videos. If you just didn't. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even saying that he needed to or he didn't. I guess you could say professional courtesy. I'm not a professional, so I couldn't tell you anything about that. But, you know, go with whatever you want to go with. If DSP was doing it to try to save his ass, then so be it. Because, yet again, ladies and gentlemen, it's very, very fucking ironic that DSP is willing to run around to all these other people, these other men, and ask them for permission to profit off of them. But he didn't feel the need to exercise the same amount of respect to Evil AJ, as if Evil AJ is beneath him. And if you listen to the DSP rhetoric, not only did Evil AJ make him as it pertains to a LOLCOW, but he broke him down too as a content creator and as a person of interest on the internet, allegedly. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening in. I very much appreciate it. And I'll see you guys for the next one, whenever that may be. Like I said, hopefully going over some Street Fighter 6 stuff. We'll mix it up and whatever. Some of the re-uploads of the Review Tech USA, and then just some other goodies too. So keep all that in mind. Take care of yourselves. Big ups. I'll see you guys when I see you.